Right, from that, let's get to our conversation of the day where we're talking about investing in sustainable food systems. And of course, joining us is Dr. Kip Kemoy Changwon, who is the Director of Livestock Systems at Calro, and Maurice Ikonya, who is a mushroom farmer right here in Kenya. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Business today. Okay, so let's get right into the conversation and look at food security. When you talk about food security, first of all, Maurice, when you talk about food security, what comes to your mind?
Food security basically for me means how you handle food. From the seed sourcing to your growing, the way you're growing your crops, to harvesting, post-harvest handling, as well as transporting to the market, how you display them in the market, and how you consume the food.
Okay.
All that, when you say food security, that one comes to mind.
Okay.
Yes.
And Dr. Kip Kemoy, when we talk about food security, of course, with your expertise in different fields in agriculture, when you talk about it, what do you usually think about, or what do you think people need to think about when you talk about food security?
Thank you, Kelvin. Food security to me is, I agree with Maurice, and also to say that it's broader than that, because food is not just plant-based foods. We also have food that is animal-based, sourced from animals, from the blue economy, as we have always known, the fish, and we have quite a number of things that constitute food. And so when we talk food security, we are looking at the security through all those value chains that cover from seafoods to terrestrial foods, be they livestock, be they insects that people do eat, be they mainly the crop-based foods.
Yes.
And looking at all the chain, as Maurice has said, from the beginning, from the planting for the crops, from the livestock feeds for the livestock, through the breeds of livestock, through the products that come from them, be they milk, be they eggs, meat, and all other products that come from livestock, including the value addition of all that.
Okay.
So within each node of the value chain, we need to be taking care of how we handle that food to make sure that we produce enough for the people that need to be fed, and also look at the situation where of the food that we have produced, we do not lose so much. This country is estimated to lose between 20 to 30% of what we harvest through losses every year, and that is quite a lot of food. If we could reduce that or eliminate losses, we'd be feeding many more other people from the same food that we produce.
Okay.
So food security, that is what it means to me.
All right, thank you so much. Very well elaborated. So, Maurice.
Yes, please.
You are a farmer.
Yes.
You handle mushrooms, and you from the moment you grow them,
yes,
and you harvest them and take them to the market. When you look at the chain from the farm to the market, what is usually the challenge, especially when it comes to how it has been harvested and throughout up to the moment it reaches the market? What are some of the challenges that usually come?
Okay, that's a good question. And being in a new industry, the challenges are many. We have a lot of challenges there. From how the skill of the farmer, how to grow the mushrooms themselves, to how to harvest, how to package, and how to transport. Again, mushrooms are quite sensitive. They don't like heat. When you're transporting them, when they're growing, they don't like heat. So if your grow room is hot, be assured you're not going to harvest anything. And if you're in it for business, which most of us are, you need to produce every planet needs to go to the market. So how you handle that can be a challenge. So for us, we have no option but to take care in everything that we do, from harvesting with clean hands, from pasteurizing our substrate to harvesting, even the panels that we use to package our mushrooms, they all need to be clean. So we give quality assurance to any consumer who consumes our products that they are safe for consumption, because we have no option than to take care of the crops that we are handling.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let us look at sustainable food systems and how they relate to sustainable agriculture. Now, the two of them, because of course someone might say, okay, sustainable food systems, that seems very, it's just there. So when you talk about sustainable food systems, what are we exactly talking about?
Yeah, thank you. Sustainable food systems is the production of food in such a way that we do not jeopardize the environment from which we produce the food, and preserve that environment in such a way that it's able to produce food for the generations to come thereafter. Because every time we produce food, we abstract nutrients from the soils. That is where our mother is. So all the nutrients that we abstract in terms of all our crop farming, all our livestock feed production, will always destroy or remove something from the environment. So sustainable food systems encompasses from production, making sure that the environment is not harmed, making sure that the food that we produce are clean for the people to eat, and so therefore derive their nutrition from there, making sure that the environment, or when it receives the remains from the food that we produce, is not also destroyed. So it's an all-encompassing One Health system whereby we take care of the soils from where we grow our crops. We take care of the crops that we have produced in terms of making sure that much of it goes to the correct channels to become food for the people and for the livestock, and making sure also that the air that we breathe, the ecosystem from which we produce and live and eat is not harmed. So the sustainability nature of food systems must take care of the environment in such a way that this same environment should be able to produce food for successive generations.
Okay.
And of course, sustainable agriculture therefore means farming in such a way that we don't harm the environment. So much so that we produce food for ourselves while we are here, and when we exit, we do not go with the environment. So that the generations to come should be able to produce its own food.
Okay.
So that is the whole essence of sustainable food systems, and consequently sustainable agricultural production.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that. And Maurice,
Yes,
now let's look at when you are, because he has mentioned about you need to make sure that at the end of the day, wherever you are farming, it's good enough for it to be passed down to, of course, different generations, even after you leave the land, and of course, even after you've harvested, it should be ready to be planted again, even in the next season. So after you plant, after you've harvested, what are some of the practices that you usually get into in order for you to keep the land and the area nutritious enough for it to be ready for the next season?
Okay. For us, we are in a unique sector, which is more of a circular economy.
Yes.
Because what we use to grow our mushrooms is agricultural waste. So whatever remains after wheat is harvested, whatever remains when rice is harvested, is what we use as substrates to produce our mushrooms. And these mushrooms, they don't take all the nutrients from these substrates. So you find you have a lot of spent substrate after you harvest the mushrooms. So what we normally do, we compost this substrate further, and it is used as organic manure. So what Dr. is saying, that you need to replenish whatever you harvest from. So this organic manure can in turn be used to grow other crops like horticulture. You can do cabbages. You can use as mulching when you're growing fruits such as strawberries. You can even use it to produce more mushrooms as a casing material. And in turn, when doing that, what we do is we replenish whatever we take from the earth,
Okay.
so that we don't have depleted resources for the next generations.
All right.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that. And Dr. Let us look at also climate change. Of course, climate change, we are seeing the effects. Currently, we are even experiencing some of them. And when you look at the growing threat of climate change and how a sustainable agriculture, now that we've talked about sustainable food systems, of course, translating to sustainable agriculture. Now, how is this going to be a key in ensuring food security is met in our country?
Yeah, thank you once more. Of course, climate change, all of us are aware of what is happening, how it causes a change in the way our environment is, behaving.
Yes.
And that has a direct effect on food production. We've seen floods, we've seen droughts, prolonged droughts, we've seen changes in soils and all that affecting our food production directly. Now, sustainable agriculture takes that into consideration, whereby we now go into researching on crops and livestock that are more resistant to climate vagaries and the changes in the climatic conditions. And so now we are still able to produce food even as the environment changes. Remember, we said sustainable agriculture also looks at ameliorating the environment, trying to make the environment, restore it back. So sustainable agriculture is going to go a long way to make sure that we don't lose what we're still left with, but also try to recover what we have lost by technological methods to make possible that the land that was already lost to some changes can now be restored back to production.
Okay.
So yes, it's a two-pronged. We are looking at plants and animals that are more resistant and productive under the environment as it changes, but we also look at restoring back the environment in such a way that it will still be productive, regardless of those macro changes that we are not able to change from where we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just hold it right there.
Yeah.
We're going to go for a short break, but when we come back, we're going to still talk about these ways in which we can also make sure that our land is suitable for food at the end of the day in order to contribute to food safety within Kenya. All right, we're going to go for a short break. Don't go too far. We'll be back with more.